Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. So, we do have the Speed Chess Championship going on right now. So I grabbed another game between Niemann and Wesley So. This is game number 8. For those of you that might be wondering what this hat is, this is when the Astros, for those of you that don't know, I'm an Astros fan, Houston Astros. This is when they won the championship, the World Series in 2017. So I went ahead and got a hat to commemorate. Been a fan my whole life. But yes, this is, like I said, game number 8. And this is the Blitz before they got into the bullet portion. So all of my people coming from the Philippines, I will say maraming salamat. And anybody else from around the world, I appreciate you for stopping by very much. But if you guys are ready to go, let's take a look, see what we got for this game. All right, so we got the move E4. We got E5. Knight goes to F3, knight to C6. All very standard stuff up to this point. Attacking E5, defending E5, all that good stuff. We do see bishop C4. Knight goes to F6, and we do see D3. We are just making sure that we hold down this E4 pawn. We got bishop going to C5, and this is the Giuoco Pianissimo variation. So that is Italian for quiet game, and then Giuoco Pianissimo is very quiet game. But as I always tell you guys, these openings are rarely ever quiet. They are not drawn by any stretch of the imagination. And there's a lot of life in it. And we will see that life coming up right now. We do see the move C3, just giving our bishop a little bit of room to drop back. And we are kind of hinting at a B4 expansion. We do see the move D6, castles by white. And then we do see the move A5, like I said a second ago. It is a very big idea to go B4, A4, A5. Even some B5s in there, trying to knock these pieces off of their really nice squares. So A5 is just making sure that we can maintain our piece's position. We do see rook going to E1. We got castles up by black. We see the move H3. No bishop G4 stuff coming. We do see H6. No bishop G5 stuff coming. We got bishop back to B3. Rook to E8. Now, it might not really make a lot of sense to you. Like, why are we doing rook to E8? Like, what are we doing? We're just like putting our rook up against this pawn. Well, one of the main ideas that white tries to do is they do try to push this D4 pawn. So you can imagine at some point if you got D4, pawn taking, and then pawn taking, you are going to be needing to, as white, make sure you defend the E4 pawn. In this opening, in these types of structures, E5 and E4 for each side are the most important pawns to make sure that you hold on to. So we have to make sure that we make preparations to make sure we defend those pawns. So that is why you see kind of a lot of the moves that are being made, like D6, knight to C6, rook to E8, making sure that we really hold down this pawn right here. We do see knight B to D2. We got bishop to E6, questioning this bishop on B3. We go ahead and move it to A4. Sometimes it's good to trade. Sometimes it's not. You actually help black quite a bit if you trade on E6. They'll take back with the pawn, and then they have kind of this big old clump of pawns in the center. So sometimes it's good to avoid that trade. We do see queen going to B8, and then we do see bishop taking C6, and this is the novelty of the game. Backing up, the two moves that we saw before was knight down to F1, just completing the idea of going up to G3 to just make sure before we push D4, we make sure E4 is taken care of. And then we have just seen D4 just immediately. We feel like we are good on E4. Right now, the bishop is blocking the rooks, attacking on it. So, I mean, it's really timely situation. But like I said, we did see bishop taking C6, pawn taking C6. We got the move D4, pawn takes, and then we do see bishop to B4. And that idea that I was telling you guys about before, about going down to F1 and coming up to G3, it's kind of blended at the moment because we really don't want to move this knight out of the way because this bishop is right here attacking this rook. So we do see the move A3, bishop takes D2, queen takes D2, and then we have a move that probably looks weird at first glance, bishop down to B3, and you're like, what? What is bishop to B3 doing exactly? But more secretly, we are double attacking this pawn right here. Like I said, E4 is the pawn that we need to focus on as white, and black is focusing on it too. We have gotten rid of the obstruction of sight from rook E8 to E4, and so you have to do something on me. So we do see the move E5, which is actually a really good move to be making. We got knight back to D7, queen goes to F4, always continuously trying to maintain the protection of our pawns. Our far advanced pawns. We do see bishop up back to D5. And this is starting to try to undermine that as well. If bishop takes, you probably want to go queen takes, and then you have a lot of problems here. So you see that a majority of white and black's moves are centered around specific ideas. And that's why when you play openings, when you study openings, the biggest thing that you want to make sure that you're studying is the ideas of the openings themselves. And it should usually give you some ideas and some understanding and like what moves you need to play in specific positions. We do see queen to g3. Now bishop takes h6 is live, and we might could checkmate on g7. You never know. We got rook to e6, and is just laterally defending the h6 pawn. We got knight going to h4. Now we have just taken it out of the possibility of it being a target for this bishop. You know, we also have some knight to f5 ideas, making this a very serious target. And then also trying to see if we can checkmate on g7. You never know. We got knight going back to f8. We got the move f4. And we are just trying to continuously push and push and push. And we do see the king going over to h7. Now, this is something I do want to mention in this position. Now, as an honorable mention move, I already mentioned it before. Knight to f5 definitely did have an honorable mention going on. You would probably see knight to g6 defending. And then you can have the move f4 then. And I mean, if you can get away with maybe knight takes h6, you can be looking at a very, very nasty pin on these two pieces. So this was worth mentioning, I felt like. But like I said, we did see f4 immediately, then king went to h7. We do see the move f5 here. Rook goes back to e8. And then we do see the move f6. And this g7 idea, you know, plop, let's just checkmate the king, is very, very live. And it is something that for the past few moves, black has really kind of had to make sure that they defend against this idea, man, because, I mean, it's a nice one. We do see the move g6, and you see the bar. White has a pretty killer move that they can play in this position. So if you want to pause the video and try to guess what move white should play here, go ahead and do so. Okay, cool. So, I mean, it's a sacrifice, in case you guys were wondering. You know, what we actually see in the game is knight going to f5. And that is a very legitimate move also. It's not like it's like, you know, like horrible. It's a very logical move. You cannot absolutely take this pawn because, I mean, the threat of queen to g7 checkmate is just always there. So going back in the position, there is a much more explosive move that you can actually play. And it's very interesting, like some of the moves that the computer tells you that you have to play. The move that I'm looking for is knight takes g6. And I actually think this is kind of a hard move to find because it doesn't really kind of seem like it leads anywhere, right? But let's look at some of the options that black has to play in this position. We will get the third move that I'm going to show you guys is going to be the move that the computer basically says you have to play. There's just no other options. But let's go with the more kind of human moves that we would probably see. Okay, you're thinking, okay, I got pawn takes g6. Like, what's the worst that can happen, right? Well, queen would come to h4. And, I mean, the problem is you don't have a really good way to defend h6. You can push like this, but the queen is going to just weasel their way in there. And this is becoming very deadly very quickly. So this is, like I said, from a human perspective, probably going to be one of the moves that you kind of think that you're going to make, and it makes more sense. The other one that we kind of have from a human perspective is just knight takes g6. And you're like, okay, I'm blocking everything down. There's no queen to g7 with checkmate. You know, I got maybe the rook swinging over at some point. The problem is you're going to be looking at this move. And, I mean, you're mating in 3. So, I mean, all of the moves that kind of seem like they're really kind of shutting some stuff down, they don't really seem to be working. So then you're probably like, hey, what do I do? This is what the computer says that you should do. Rook takes e5. Excuse me? What in the world is this move doing? Like, I mean, bro, like, I'm just going to get, like, you're just taking a pawn with the rook. Like, what's going on? Well, the idea behind it is interesting. We would probably see pawn taking e5. If that's absolutely not the best thing to do, it is best to go ahead and go knight takes e5, and then you're able to just kind of like continue that idea. But you probably would be kind of going, I think most humans would probably go this. After you would see knight taking g6, you actually can't have that same idea as before because you're looking at queen to a7. Crap. Why? And so this was one of the major ideas. You also have the ability just to go queen to f8. and you are now protecting that pawn right there. And I mean, you know, this is still really great for white, but at least kind of you're like holding on a little bit. So that is the idea behind all of that. But like I said, we didn't see any of that. If you guessed it, I mean, gangster, like, I mean, you good at calculation, bro. But like I said, we do see knight to f5. We got knight going to e6. We see knight taking h6. We got the move g5. And then after knight takes f7, it is in this position that Wesley So resigns the game. Now, the major problem that you have is there really isn't a great defense to this position at all. The only pawn that you really have left in the position that's really protecting your king is this pawn right here. And you guys can see that it is triple hit. And there isn't really another way to defend it. You can swing rook over here like this. So let's say you do something like this. I mean, the queen is coming and infiltrating into the position. And I mean, you are just always constantly, you know, hitting this pawn right here. This rook can swing in like this. This is, I mean, you guys can see how nasty this can get, man. So this is not where you want to be at all. If you are Wesley So, so he went ahead and chucked deuces on the situation and said, I'm leaving. What's going on with my camera, bro? Come on, son. Give me some clarity. Whatever. I guess it needs to just stop being like that, bro. Man, okay. I'm gonna upgrade my camera. This is a 4K camera, but I'm gonna upgrade my camera one day. And it's just gonna be a little bit better at some point in the future. I'm gonna get it, man. Don't worry. Don't worry about me. I'm gonna be okay. Don't cry for me, Argentina. But all my people in the Philippines, I would say magandang umaga, mabuhay, kamusta, na aking makaibigan. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody else from around the world, I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna see everybody next time.